My name's Dalton Buckner, and I did my missionary paper on John and Betty Stam. They were missionaries in China, and I've heard about them before in other classes. I just didn't know much about them. So when I got the opportunity to truly dig into their lives, it was a really fun opportunity for me, and I really did enjoy reading that book. Honestly, I read it pretty quickly in like a day, so it was just a fun read. Being able to understand their life from childhood all the way to their end. And most people understand John and Betty Stam as from the story of the miracle baby. Their daughter was able to be saved by God to where she was eventually able to get back to Betty's parents and live a life with them after her parents had died. But I really enjoyed learning about their childhood. They both grew up in Christian homes that were missionary focused. Both of them, just really had lives where they got to watch their parents live out their life for the Lord and got to experience what missionaries really look like, in the sense of just reaching people daily for the gospel, loving people, seeking to share the gospel. So John had a little harder time in terms of coming to faith than Betty, just because, as he put it, just self-reliance. He just tried to rely on himself too much, and he just kind of had to be humbled a little bit by God, to where he finally realized just how big of a sinner he really was and how much he really needed Jesus. So it was interesting to see the challenges John went through as a teenager, and then watching him go from I want to make a lot of money to I want to serve God as a missionary. Both of them went to seminary. Betty was a year ahead of John, but John lived his life at seminary like he would as a missionary. He sought to let God provide for him. And both of them provide a really amazing example of reliance upon God. They let their whole life be just one big ability for God to show up in their lives, and God truly did. With John, he was always providing for his school. John did work like a part-time job, but he relied on God for all kinds of things. Just being able to get school paid for, or finding money on the street to where he could buy socks and clothes to go back home to his parents. He just sought to be reliant upon God, and he had to be taught a little bit on, it's not always going to be from where you think it's going to be. Sometimes you have to be willing to take it from anywhere. But it was just something that was really striking to me, just how well they truly relied on God, and it kind of made it to where, it was convicting on me just how amazing it was to read about their courage and strength in their life all the way to the end. Both of them really had a heart for just sharing the gospel with the lost. So for them, it was both China. Betty did have a moment where she did really feel led to Africa, but in the end, she ended up feeling most led to China, which is where she grew up a lot of her life. So it was interesting to watch them both learn the Chinese language. Both of them get to do ministry alone and then be able to do it together. They didn't know while they were really interested in each other in college, they didn't pursue a relationship because they didn't know where they were going to be. And God was able to help them do ministry together as a married couple. And so it was interesting to watch them rely upon God separately and as a married couple. And I recommend that you read that book about them, and it was by Vance Christie.